The board would like to welcome the audience and thank you for attending. Viewers may watch TCAPS Board of Education meetings and committee meetings live or on demand at any time at tcaps.net/board. Please rise and join students from Long Lake Elementary School in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. With the review approval portion of the agenda, do I have any changes or a motion? Okay, no changes, so do I have anyone willing to approve that?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay, motion carries. First item is recognition, referring to Dr. Manley.
Okay, so we have a couple of great recognitions tonight. So our first, we have some of our staff and students from Traverse Heights Elementary to talk about their house system. So we've heard many great things about that. Many of us had the chance to go over and experience the different houses at Traverse Heights. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pass it off to Mr. Brian Kay, the principal, to have his students go and present.
They've got it, let's go.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Kenna and I'm the house leader of House Michigan here at Traverse Heights. We are so excited to be here today representing our school and our amazing houses.
Just go for it.
I am Kira of House Ontario. One of the things I love most about our school is how we all work together no matter what class or grade we're in. At Traverse Heights, we are really one big family of Roadrunners.
And my name is Wed of House of Hero. My favorite part of the house system and about our school is our school helps us make more friends and our house system connects us together.
Sorry. I am Keisha of House Hero and this is my house and best friend of school. At Traverse Heights, we're not just learning math and reading, we're learning how to be good people. The house system helps us practice things like teamwork, respect, and belonging. We want to say thank you to all our teachers, staff, and families for cheering us on and helping us make our school a great place to be every day.
And we have a special invitation. We'd love to invite our school board members to join us for our house assemblies. They happen on last Friday of every month, and it will mean so much to have you there to celebrate with us. Mr. K will send a sign up following this meeting.
Thank you for supporting Traverse Heights and believing in us.
We can't wait to keep showing what it means to be Roadrunners. We are safe, we are responsible, we are one.
Thank you so much, and for any board members who have not attended an assembly, I've had the fortune of attending a couple, and it's a great way to start the day for sure. So I come out of there energized, and it's a great system. So thank you, and thank you. You did a great job. So all right.
All in all.
Anything else? Again, any comments from board members or anything? Do we do a photo?
Let's do a photo.
Yeah.
I like it. Come on up, everybody, up over here, Brendan.
Here, I'll take your pictures.
Come on, Mr. K. Yep. Any board members want to?
Anyone wanna come? We're gonna do a group photo.
Students? Come on up.
Oh, you guys.
This is a rare
You don't have to, it's not required.
Rare
Come on.
opportunity.
Who's standing in for Erica?
Nobody.
She's
Skipping.
Alright, you guys can stand in the front here.
Yeah.
Front.
I'll stand behind you here. So.
You're good.
There we go.
Ready? Say Roadrunners.
Roadrunners.
All right.
All tear on.
Good job.
See you soon.
Did you do anything? Brian, how many
I don't
times
like
you recognized now?
talking.
You did it? You hold the record.
I wasn't there.
I'll be ready.
Okay, and there's some further recognition as well, so. And we also have Compass Awards today.
Yeah, so I'll pass it over to Connie Taylor to introduce our Compass Award winners.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to honor this month's Compass Awards. For those of you who are not familiar, the Compass Award is granted to staff members who are nominated for their efforts in terms of epitomizing what our strategic plan is all about and making TCAPS a great place. And so we do these every other month, and this is our first one for the 25-26 school year. When I call your name, if you would mind standing up, and as soon as we've completed all the awards, we'll ask you to come forward and get a certificate and take a picture with the Board of Education. So first, we're gonna honor from the TCEA, Colin Iverson. Second-year special education teacher who already models all of the values in our strategic plan. Most importantly, he masterfully fosters inclusive, student-first classrooms that create the conditions for growth for all students. Colin is wise and experienced beyond his years, and I hope he continues to positively impact his students and colleagues for many years to come. Colin has taken on an imposing and disparate schedule this year, but displays impressive command over a variety of subject areas. Even more significantly, he excels at connecting with students of all attitudes and abilities. Students truly feel valued and recognized when they are around him. Thank you, Colin. Next, we have Kaylee Myers from West Senior High School. Hey, I don't see Kaylee, but we'll go ahead and we'll read her recognition. Kaylee is a huge asset to West Senior High. She creates a sense of stability for students and staff. She is consistent in her approach to student discipline, which makes for a successful work environment. She's very committed to her job and is willing to stand up to help. West Senior High is so fortunate to have her on the team. She's consistent with her students, which plays a big role in having the students and parents know what is expected of them. Kaylee will reach out to students with academic needs and is always willing to help. She is fair and consistent from the first day of school to the last. Thank you, Kaylee, Assistant Principal, West Senior High School. Next, we have Brittany Kay, non-affiliated Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Brittany Kay is an outstanding leader who's brought energy, clarity, and organization to her role as Director of Curriculum. She has a unique ability to make big, complex projects like CKLA rollout feel manageable and supportive for everyone involved. Brittany communicates in a way that builds and keeps trust, keeps people informed, and makes staff feel heard. She was the clear choice for this nomination because of the positive difference she makes for both staff and students every single day. Brittany has a gift for bringing people together around a shared vision. She provides professional development that is practical, engaging, and encouraging. Her ability to listen and respond to staff needs has further built confidence in implementing CKLA and strengthening collaboration across the buildings. Because of her leadership, teachers feel supported, students are receiving stronger instruction, and our community can see the positive momentum in literacy across the district. Thank you, Brittany. Next, we have Adam Strickler, Food Service Kitchen Leader, TCAPS Montessori. Adam is new to our building this year, and he's new to the lead position in the cafeteria. Adam's incredibly respectful to the staff in our building as he is learning this new building and his new job. He's already found ways to make the process of getting the lunch counts to the kitchen more efficient and more environmentally friendly. Adam smiles at the students, asks them what they want, and helps keep the students with allergies safe with food options. No matter what's going on in the cafeteria, he is smiling and helpful. Our salad bar is amazing. Next, we have Mary Mast, TCAPS, instructional assistant. Mary is a phenomenal instructional assistant. She constantly goes above and beyond to help students be successful while completing responsibilities with dedication and integrity. She's always brainstorming new ideas and is not afraid to try new things. She is kind, caring, and patient, even with some of the most difficult children. She always has a calm demeanor even when helping students navigate difficult situations. She provides a nurturing environment that leaves a lasting impact on these children, and it's loved by students and staff. Mary is always looking for educational opportunities to help better herself and better inform others about her role. In the community, she often educates others about disabilities and corrects misconceptions about the educational field, especially in special education. She's a strong advocate for students needing special education resources, and TCAPS is lucky to have her. Congratulations, Mary. And our next two winners were not able to be here this evening, but we want to honor them nonetheless. The first is Ann Apria, TCTA, bus driver transportation. This was actually a nomination received from a parent from her building. I wanted to extend a note of gratitude to our full-time bus driver, Miss Ann. Somehow, after 4 years, I still do not know her last name. My 3 Eastern Elementary students ride her bus every morning and afternoon. She goes above and beyond to get them safely to school. They've been stuck in snow, encountered drivers not adhering to bus stop signs, and I'm sure of many other adventures that I've still not heard. In particular, my student experienced a medical incident on the bus on the morning of May 8th. Miss Ann recognized the symptoms quickly, immediately contacted transportation, and I was able to get to my student safely cared for. Ann has been a cheerleader for them when they've had good days at school and a soft listening ear when they've had a rough day. She's a master locator of lost water bottles and mittens. She's not just a bus driver. My family wants to extend our deepest gratitude for her service. It's clear that keeping the children safe is her utmost priority, but also being a trustworthy adult they can spend their morning and afternoon with. And lastly, we have Annette Ponder, AFSCME custodian at Traverse Heights. Annette is such an amazing person and worker with such a kind, caring personality. She makes sure our building is always clean by morning with fine details always taken care of. A lot of time, people on second shift aren't as noticed because they aren't seen much after the typical school work day. Annette's work shines in the morning, reminding us that how much she cares about our school and that it looks great. Annette has had numerous perfect attendance years, making her someone we can depend on. Her smile, loving patience, and calm demeanor are so beautiful as she listens to someone ready to give positive advice to make one feel better. Congratulations, Annette. At this time, we'd like to invite all of our winners to please come forward, receive your certificate. We'd like to get a photo. Thank you.
Same thing, board, might as well.
I had to
Come on.
organize it.
We're getting good.
Yeah, it's easier when it's here.
It is. Rest of the board wanna come up?
I'm not gonna explain no.
Quad.
Make it do.
Say road runners.
It's easy when it's here.
Say compass.
The compass over it.
1, 2, 3.
All right, one more round of applause, please.
No, I know. All right, thanks, everyone, and thanks for the outstanding efforts as well. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is public comment. The board has set aside this time for public comment, and individuals addressing the board shall have one opportunity to speak. It shall be limited to 3 minutes. Individuals should not make personal attacks unrelated to actions affecting the school system, and we strongly encourage common courtesy and constructive feedback. Detailed rules and procedures, including a complaint process, are outlined in Board Policy 2504. Tammy?
Rick Venner.
If you don't mind, I'll have Richard go before me. He's up for a Zoom meeting.
Okay. Richard Robbins.
Actually, I request like this because I'm just hoping we get a few more days of good weather, so. Thank you very much. Just a quick, so the agenda for me, an introduction and a quick request. I am here representing an organization called the Grand Traverse Safe Streets Alliance. We've provided each of you a card with a website. Strongly encourage you to go take a look at it. It's a great website, and please sign up just for updates. We're not gonna spam you to death, but whenever we have updates and changes to the website, you'll receive those. This alliance was created, I helped to kind of put this together about 1.5 years ago. And it's nine members. It includes TART, Norte, the Cherry Capital Cycling Club, Groundwork, the Disability Network of Northern Michigan, Streetcraft, also the TC Track Club, and League of Michigan Bicyclists, as well as the Citizens Climate Lobby. And the mission of this organization is to develop and help promote multimodal, safe transportation corridors within Traverse City and the surrounding 5 counties. Our real focus right now is staying in Traverse City and Grand Traverse County because this is where we're starting, but that's really our focus. And it's really because of addressing the well-publicized documentation that states that 53% of cyclists, disabled, runners, and pedestrians are interested, but are concerned for their safety to do more of each of their daily lives without an automobile. So again, we left you the card for you to take a look at it. It's a really cool website. You'll really enjoy kind of the to be or as is and to be types of scenarios we've developed. Leading that onto that, our request is to have the board identify who we can work with to discuss the opportunity to incorporate a more robust non-automotive access to a central school during the redesign. Now, our website has 2 ideas on the website. There's slider ideas kind of showing you before and after on the north side of central school. These were provided as idea starters. We're not in any way prescribing ideas. We're here to try to think, let's use innovation and think out of the box at this critical time opportunity when we're redesigning a facility. And so I'd encourage you to take a look at those, a couple of different scenarios that we've started. And again, these are to start conversation. There's always new ways we can think about things. We believe a more robust, safe route to central school for the families of children can be achieved in a final design as well as.
Sorry, your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
3-minute limit.
Oh, okay, was that 3 minutes? Wow, that's
Already.
fast, okay.
Okay. Rick Venner.
Rick Venner, I'm a resident of Traverse City, Flat Town. And Cherry Capital Cycling Club Vice President. We have approximately 500 members currently. And I'm also a member of the Safe Streets Alliance, one of the founders. And I'm also, more importantly, a grandfather of 5 children that go to the TCAPS. One is at Willow that gets walked to school every day, to and fro. One that goes to Montessori, and when the weather's permitting or when mom and or dad are available, they bike to Montessori. I have another one that's at West Middle, and most of the time it's busing. And then 2 at West High, busing until last week. One of them got his driver's license, oh boy. TCAPS has done a great job working on safe streets to school for over the years and continues to do it. And I would just like to emphasize what Richard was just saying about 7th Street. It's an opportunity. And I think our alliance and our position, we are a voice of the community, and we can do some of the groundwork for the school system, for TCAPS. If we have to go door to door, whatever it is, you know, listen to the people and try and get feedback so that this is a project that's a win-win. So that's really all I'm asking is, you know, for a conduit from the Safe Streets Alliance to TCAPS, that we might help make it a real success.
Catherine DeGood.
So my name is Catherine DeGood. I'm a parent of a tag grad who is now a senior at West Senior High, also the student governor. And I'm just here to express my support for the program as a whole and what it has done for her. I had one child that's already graduated, and he was a Montessori kid through 5th grade. My daughter was a Montessori kid, and apparently it wasn't a good fit for her. And we discovered in 3rd grade that tag was going to be an option for her for the next year. And it completely changed her view of school, it changed her view of learning, and it tapped into her excitement and her drive to learn that she didn't have as a Montessori student. And she learned aside students from all across town, which I know might not be the future for that, which is fine. But she learned, you know, aside students from a ton of different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different economic backgrounds. And she became the leader that she now is, I think, through the years of that program. She is now a big sister, and she goes back to Central Grade every week. She is part of the YAC program and helps grant money to those who need it for nonprofit programs. It's just been an exceptional, I think, launching point for her. And I would like to also express, as a professional in the community that works on talent attraction, retention for the 5-county region, that the fact that TCAPS has this program is a really, really key point that parents are looking for. And it differentiates the TCAPS program that it does from others across the counties. So I highly recommend expanding it, doing with whatever you can to make it flourish even more in the future. Thank you.
Mary Manti.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Manti, and I'm here as a representative for the League of Women Voters for Grand Traverse County. And my role with the League is one of being one of their core observers. And you had another core observer, her name was Robin Stott, and I'm replacing Robin in that role. But let me tell you a little bit about what that means. So the League is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Rather, the League's energy is spent advocating for equitable voting, access for all, and working on vital issues of concern to our members and the public. So in order to stay abreast of all the potential issues relevant to the League, a Corps of Observers was established. So the Corps of Observers attend meetings across the county, city commission meetings, township meetings, and basically what we do is we come and observe and record, and we look for areas where we might have some influence, either in the community or on a larger scale. So one example of that would be when the Michigan legislature took their time in coming up with our K-12 budget. So an e-blast went out to all the members, asking them to please contact their representatives and create a sense of urgency for getting that budget settled. So I'm really happy to be here partnering with you in that. And if I can answer any questions in this couple of minutes here, I'm happy to do that regarding the work that I do or will be doing.
Thanks, and part of the policy is we don't allow a back and forth dialogue, but we are available before and after meetings as well as board office hours as well, but thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
David Richardson.
Hi there, David Richardson, Traverse City, also West High School teacher. I just wanted to really quick thank the district for celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day today, and also for dedicating all of the resources and attention we do to our student support network, maintaining free lunch and breakfast when we didn't have a budget, and everything we do to build just an inclusive, welcoming school district for our kids, in addition to pursuing academic excellence, which we also do. And I wasn't planning to do this, but I'd like to give a quick shout out to my 5th grade teacher in Marshall, Michigan, named Dan DeGood, who was a major influence on my life and my decision to become a teacher. I believe is also the grandfather of our amazing student governor, Addie DeGood at West High. And I hope I get a chance to catch up at graduation this year. I'll be there, but thanks for everything you do.
Bill Wiesner.
Bill Wiesner, Traverse City, and I'd like to start with, it's Seth Gruber's show, and it's a little clip on sexual freedom activist leaders' goal is the destruction of the family.
Kate Millett, who wrote the book Sexual Politics, who was one of the radical second-wave feminists, her sister Mallory Millett ended up becoming a Catholic, very conservative culture warrior, okay? And talks about a feminist gathering she went to with her sister Kate Millett in Greenwich Village, which is the same place that the Stonewall movement, homosexuality movement started, the same place that Margaret Sanger started with the beginning of Planned Parenthood in New York City. It's the same place where the show Friends is filmed, allegedly. And Mallory Millett talks about this Maoist struggle session Marxist chant that her sister Kate Millett, one of the most famous second-wave feminists of the 20th century that architected much of the culture that you're living in today, would lead with her proteges and followers. And they would say, why are we here? And they would say, to make revolution. And she would say, what kind of revolution? And they would say, the cultural revolution. And how do we make cultural revolution, Kate Millett would say. And they would say, by destroying the American family. And she would say, how do we destroy the American family? And they would say, by destroying the American patriarch. And then she would say, how do we destroy the American patriarch? And they would say, by taking away his power. And then she would say, how do we take away his power? And they would say, by destroying monogamy. And she would say, and how do we destroy monogamy? And they would say, by promoting promiscuity, eroticism, prostitution, homosexuality, prostitution, and abortion, they resound. It's time to stop sitting on the sidelines. No more bench warming. Join us.
And the second part is an article I heard on the same show, Seth Gruber, and I looked it up online. It's a book called Sex and Culture, written in 1934, and tells the history, tells us the effects of sexual freedom. And it lists on the back here, this article I picked up on it. Sex and the Culture, a 1934 book, which looks at the rise and falls of society in relation to their attitudes on sexual freedom. His analysis offers the following observations. Effects of sexual constraints. Increased sexual constraints are either, basically, sexual restrained society, increase, it flourishes. Okay, a second point is that the single most important, if you're sexually, okay. Anyways, the sexually freedom societies fall within 3 generations. Please consider this. Thank you.
Okay, that is the end of public comment. Thanks for the comments. Moving on to superintendent's report, deferring to Dr. Van Wagner.
Okay, so legislative update, we have a budget. Now, what exactly that budget means, we're totally not sure yet. It was done very late at night, and we rely on the House and Senate fiscal agencies to give us a very specific breakdown generally, and they did give us some of that, but I've shared with the board MASB's breakdown of all the budget items, all of those pieces. The piece that is really still a real question is the retirement system. So normally we, in the past, have gotten quite a bit of funds to offset our cost on retirement. So the amount the district has to pay back to the state for every payroll dollar of our employees. It's under section 147, so if you go in the budget bill and go to number 147, there's all these separate letters, A, B, C, D, E, and some of that was eliminated. And exactly what that means, we don't know yet, totally. We're waiting on ORS, Senate House Fiscal. They will really, and after count kind of gets put into all of it, payroll dollars into the whole budget, we kind of get a better picture of what that is. And as the board well knows, we kind of get a gray picture. We don't know exactly to those categoricals sometimes until June. But we can give a pretty rough estimate of where that is. I've said, from my analysis of the budget, I think that it's pretty darn close to what we budgeted. I think in the end, when you add up all the categoricals increases, the reduction in retirement, all of those pieces, we were not far off. The foundation came in at the 1,050, I believe.
10,050.
So very close from what we thought. Transportation was there. Our at-risk allocation, we do believe, will go up closer to what we thought we had before, but we won't know that till we get an official notice at that point of where our numbers and how our numbers this year fall into it. Right now, it's still based off of last year's numbers and what that looked like. So, as we go through, we'll continue to look at that. The good news is I feel we're pretty on keel from our budget that we had put in. Hopefully, it's a little bit more, but until we get final numbers, I really can't say with that. So you combine that with our tentative numbers, very preliminary for numbers in Counting the District, is up for the first time in many years. We had budgeted about 25, and I think our initial numbers are around 37, I believe, students is where we're at. So from a budget-wise, I think we're gonna be okay. It's not, as I had said to, I think the ticker, it's not a Cadillac budget, it's a Chevrolet budget, but new Chevrolet is a nice vehicle too. So, we always want to do more and have more to be able to do with our students and staff. But we'll continue to dig deeper as we get more of the numbers and continue to share that out. We'll have that closer with a budget amendment that is still a bit of a guess, remember, with those categoricals. But overall, I do want to thank all three of our state legislators, Senator John Namus, Representative Betsy Kofi, and Representative John Roth. They all advocated for the things that were important for TCAPS and Northern Michigan. And that was obvious in our conversations in Lansing in the end. Like I said, it wasn't a complete, overall slam dunk win with that cut to the retirement part. But many of the things we advocated for did get put back in, and we are thankful for their advocacy on that. So with that, are there any questions at all on that legislative update?
No, go ahead.
Good. I mean, my only concern in reviewing it was obviously the retirement piece, which thankfully this year was plugged with some one-time money.
Yeah.
So
but
that's
this
why
next
it's
year,
okay.
it's, there's a little bit added, but then there's a chunk taken away. And again, what that exactly looks like, I had a meeting today with our advocacy group, and they still don't know numbers statewide of what that looks like. They're really trying to work to start crunching those, but ORS is really, gonna have to get in because they are saying that, their number has gone up as far as the retirement cost part. So until it's all worked out, we really don't know.
yeah, I'm happy but concerned, more concerned for next year than I was before it.
I was just gonna ask, what's your ETA for when we would be looking at the budget amendment? Is that
February.
February still? Okay.
Especially now, I mean, think about it, we normally have this thing in July, you know, so it's, you know, that's really gonna press to see what information we get from MDE. We don't even know exactly our October payments yet, we don't know if any of these categoricals are gonna be in the October payment, so we'll see. And then I'll note, federal-wise, you know, it's a wait and see. It really has not impacted us very much yet, but, you know, the US Department of Ed is essentially pretty much shut down, especially all special education. So what that means is anything related to IDEA and conversations or reports, those kind of things, there's nobody to answer a phone or an email. But it's been minimal at this point, but if it continues on, it definitely could have some impact as we move forward. So we'll keep you updated on that if anything starts to impact us.
Thanks, and I'd just like to thank the board and administration obviously for that, maintaining a reserve fund, because from what I heard from other districts, it was a lot messier. Some other places who couldn't take that risk.
Yeah, some had to go borrow money. Some had to go to banks and borrow money on their state note because they weren't sure if they weren't able to get that October state payment, they wouldn't have been able to make payroll. And so there's many important aspects of a fund balance. One of them is, you know, when you don't get paid the summer payment, that you have money to, you know, cash flow and be able to make your payroll, order your early school supplies, all those kind of things you need. So a fund balance is very, very important in that aspect.
And did you have?
Anything else, Diane?
No, I mean, we were guessing 1 million down on at-risk, so I'm grateful also to our legislators to make us whole again. That's a big deal.
It's close. You know, it's gonna be a little less, but
yeah,
you know, and then more in the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Better than 1 million down.
For sure. For sure. The district highlights, congratulations to the TC West ELA teacher, our TC West ELA teacher, Amy Cole, who has been selected for the University of Chicago's Outstanding Educator Award. Students accepted into the UIC class of 2029 were asked to nominate a teacher whose guidance has helped them along the path towards intellectual growth. Responses were received from hundreds of students in recognition of educators who had positively impacted their lives, and Amy stood out among a field of incredibly capable and inspiring educators. We are proud to recognize her, and we want to thank her for her dedication to the students at TC West and to TCAPS overall. Teachers and administrators were able to connect with national leaders at the Science of Reading Convention in Chicago this past week. The Science of Reading is a key foundation of our current CKLA curriculum, guiding instruction through evidence-based practices that support strong reading development for every student. Attendees came away inspired by the latest research and instructional approaches, gaining practical ideas to enhance phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension instruction. They are eager to share what they learned with colleagues and apply these insights to continue strengthening literacy teaching across the district. And was mentioned earlier, today TCAPS students celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day throughout a variety of grade-appropriate lessons developed by teacher, curriculum leaders, community members, and representatives from our Indigenous communities here in Traverse City. Megwich, which means thank you, in Anishinaabe, for all of their work to help us to be able to work with our students on that. TC Central High School jazz bands performed with MSU Jazz Orchestra on October 11th at the City Opera House, so great work for them. Also, last week we had the chance to have the annual band, I don't know the official name, Gala Jamboree at Thurlby Field. I saw Josie from a distance there. I'm not sure if any other board members made it, but a great event. Always had the chance to, you know, always towards the end as TC West went first and TC Central, great performances by the kids. Stopped raining just in time just for them, which was great. So really enjoyed seeing that. Appreciate all the work that all of our parents, the staff, all the people that volunteer to make that event happen as well. Traverse City Area Public Schools is recognizing National Safe Schools Week from October 20th to the 24th. This week is about raising awareness for safe schools. This year, TCAPS will be highlighting everything from bus safety to mental health, and the district is reminding everyone, including families, staff, and the community, that all play a part in keeping our students safe. So that's what I have for our update. Any other questions or things board members wanted to highlight?
All right. Thank you. Board committee reports, discussion first. Curriculum Committee on September 30th, reporting out by Trustee Ballinger.
Okay, so we convened on September 30th at 8:30 a.m. and we had one public commenter, Diane Arnold, on the TAG program. We made one addition to our meeting minutes and we approved the district course catalog. There were several online additions that are in our consent calendar. And then the centerpiece, one of the core things on the agenda that day was our learning series on the English Learner program. So if you'll bear with me a minute, I'm gonna just pull out some highlights because I thought this was really great information that was new to probably all of us. So at this point in time, our district serves 283 students who are learning English. And at the elementary school level, they have what's called a push in and pull out approach with teachers coming in to help those students. And at the secondary level, students take a dedicated English as a second language course. TCAPS has 2 family liaisons who serve as interpreters for our families in the 2 languages that we have the most second language speakers, and that is for Spanish and Ukrainian. And then for all other languages, the district's using Genie, which is a free app for interpretive services. One of the slides also breaks down, if you're interested, the number of EL students we have by elementary school. And I'll just note that the 2 with the highest numbers are Traverse Heights and Central Grade. And also, I just thought this was pretty mind-blowing. We have 18 languages spoken in our district right now. Again, Spanish and Ukrainian constitute the most, about 68%. But just think of that, there are 16 other languages: Korean, Polish, Russian, Persian, Chinese, Vietnamese, to name a few. And then lastly on this subject, there was a big change this year due to a state requirement. So we have now moved to fully certified staff for the English as a second language instruction. Formerly, it was a mix of aides and certified staff. And then as a side note, in response to a trustee who asked a question about Anishinaabe, Mr. Tisworth gave us the news that the district has received a grant, so stay tuned, there will be more information on that in the future. Then our next large discussion item was on the Talented and Gifted program. That was quite a lengthy discussion. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to review the committee recording if you have. But since we're gonna be discussing that tonight, I will not go over that. And then we also went over the latest M-STEP scores from spring of 2025. So this is 3rd through 8th grade, math, social studies, science, and reading. Basically, the proficiency levels were about the same for all grades and subjects, with a few exceptions, but pretty consistent with prior years. And lastly, we had several celebrations and successes as always. And all that took us nearly 2 hours, so we adjourned at 10:26 a.m. Our next curriculum committee meeting is Tuesday, October 28th at 8:30 a.m. in the administration building.
Okay, any questions? All right, Finance Committee on October 2nd, reported out by Trustee Hardy.
Well, I can honestly say our meeting did not take that long. It was a relatively light agenda. We approved things like a stormwater management plan, which we're required to do. We unanimously approved the Mahogany Foundation grant that we'll be talking about later in the board meeting. And then we went through bids and services, purchases of custodial equipment. And, you know, pretty much that was it. It was a good meeting, but it was a quick meeting, so.
All right.
I thank you.
Any questions on finance?
I just wanted to point out, you didn't hold the record though, executive is even shorter.
We'll work on it.
I go away and let's look at what you guys do. I'm reporting out on that executive committee on October 2nd is trustee Schmidt.
Yeah, so that was a 15-minute meeting, I believe, much like in September. We moved the attendance absenteeism and truancy policy to consent. And then we had an update from Erica Lottie, who was filling in for Connie, who did great. And we're looking for some non-certified staff with urgent need. It's 8 openings still to be filled in, of course, still looking for bus drivers. And our next executive meeting will be on October 30th.
Thank you. And then the Superintendent Board Student Advisory Council on September 23rd, reporting out by trustee Bucceris.
Yeah, so this was a great opportunity to meet with students, high school students. Their topic that they had brainstormed last year, was on homework. So it was very interesting to see both Central and West kids working together, coming up with ideas and thoughts on homework, and then that is to be taken out. One thing that I noted right away, and I talked with Ms. Houghton and Dr. Van Wagner about, is these were mostly AP students who were in athletics or extracurriculars, and so how do we reach some of those other kids? Sounds like they're going to CTC and to TC High later this year. I still would love to see a way to get some of the other kids involved, so it's not just a small perspective of it, but they had lots of great ideas. It was fascinating to see them talk together and come up with great ideas to share out to their admin.
All right, thank you. Any questions on that? And then if not, I'll let you continue straight into board office hours on September 25th.
Yeah, it was a busy week.
Yeah.
I had one, Bill Weisner came. He was unfortunately having technical difficulties, so we could not communicate whatsoever. I did have somebody else chirp in to make sure it wasn't on my end, because that could happen. But they could hear me just fine, and so.
Okay. All right, so an eventful meeting.
It was uneventful.
So, yep, the next board office hours is in person on October 23rd at the Traverse Area District Library, 6 o'clock. And in attending is trustee Hardy. So, again, this is a great opportunity to talk to board members and express concerns in detail. We do actually appreciate when people go as well, because it does give us something, anything to talk about. So we do appreciate attendance, and we'll be reviewing how to engage with the public productively in January as well, as a reminder. With that, that's the last report out. We are moving on to consent, and do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent calendar as presented and without discussion.
Second?
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to discussion. The first discussion item is the TCAPS tag program. Defer to Dr. Van Wagner.
Okay, so tonight, there's definitely one thing that has to come out of tonight, and that is a conversation on the central grade building. That is essentially, Christine came to me about a month ago and said the architects are at the point where they're really starting to finalize the scope of that building and the number of classrooms and exactly what we are going to have there moving forward in the future. And so, as you know, there's a renovation of 3 floors for that building. We've had conversations and all that before. But what I thought I would have Christine do is go through and show you just kind of those pictures to, again, just go back, just a quick highlight of the visioning group of Central Grade and what they had come up with. And then what I'm looking for is, it's really not a vote, it's just feedback on really at this point, that final plan of where classrooms might be. There's a definitely cost factor more on a lower floor addition was not in the scope of the plan to have those 4 classrooms in that. And there's some possibility that could be third floor partially. There's even possibly a couple of classrooms, maybe even more on lower levels at this point, but I'm gonna let Christina go on all that. Have a lot of data and we'll kind of take it from there.
Thanks. So just a recap from the Central Grade Visioning Committee, so we had constituents from the community, parents, we even had a student come together and just kind of talk about what are the priorities for this building moving forward. And we did present that to the board on April 14th, so if you'd like a refresher, you certainly can tap into that recording. But as a highlight, the main things that we had talked about, again, this is high level. The main things that we talked about was maintaining the current historic footprint of the building with the exemptions of the 1950s, 60s courtyard, old woodshop area, which has a lot of ADA concerns. The group was open to exploring some demolition as it relates to some of the portions of the west wing that is a little bit older addition, not really part of the historic three-story structure. Really making sure that we're solving some supervision issues, especially in that west wing, given the fact that there's many corridors to turn around to make sure you can see, have line of sight for kids down the hallway. Having dedicated classroom space was a priority. Priority of having the main office in a central location, again, that line of sight for supervision. Having students located on the first and second floors. This was as it related to overall placement of students. It wasn't necessarily a question as it relates to TAG specifically. Creating separation of LARs and after-school activities. As you know, in a lot of the other buildings that we have, we've been dedicating some doors that we can control for after-school activities versus instructional activities. Sustainability is important, but instructional space should be prioritized. Energy efficiency should be considered as part of the budget. Prioritize the playground areas when determining location of the community garden. Priority for playground exit immediately from the cafeteria. Cafeteria is separated from the hallway for noise reduction. As you know now, the cafeteria is part of the hallway, so it creates a lot of noise in the cafeteria. Preserving the front lawn as much as possible. Everybody agreed that the current location of the bus drop-off and pickup area on Pine Street would work just fine going forward, so recommend keep that as is. Would like some kind of small car loop dedicated for preschool and kindergarten for those students located on the first floor. Merging parent loop with a parking lot, and staff kind of given the overall perspective that green space should be preserved over any kind of staff parking. That was the highlight of a lot of things that we talked about in the visioning committee. One of the things that came up when I approached John was really the conversation about the size and square foot of the building. So by having a conversation about demo, we had shown previous pictures about demolition partially of the west wing to kind of help with that supervision. So it'd be demolition there, and it would be demolition of that old woodshop area that has the up and down staircase and ramps, and then doing an addition to make sure that the building is set up for really great supervision from a perspective of being able to stand down one or two hallways and see the length to see if there's student activity in the hallway. So when we talked about that, the conversation around how many classrooms came up, and TAG was a question for us. Knowing whether or not we need 4 dedicated classrooms for that program is important as it relates to the overall square foot. And one of the reasons it's particularly important is, as we're doing that addition, whatever you have on the second floor, obviously you need to have a base on the first floor. So anything that we add to the building is the total square foot now is times 2. So if we need more classrooms on the second floor, that means we have to have more of a first floor in order to house that. So the way that we had looked at the budget, if you'll recall in April, I reported out about $55 million is the budget. We currently don't have a dedicated amount of classrooms for four tag rooms, with a thought process that Central Grade could expand as it relates to some junior kindergarten, not knowing kindergarten sections. We always leave a little bit of buffer. You never know as it relates to who's gonna move in or what other programs we might wanna offer, like the MyKai program. So the conversation was really trying to get an understanding from the board where we are with the budget at $55 million, the current square foot that we have. And I'll just show you, it's not pretty, it's not gonna explain all of the classroom locations, but what we tried to do for you right now, because again, this is very draft, if you haven't noticed, it's draft. But we don't have the classrooms built out yet, but we know how much square foot we have for classrooms versus those other things like circulation, cafeteria, gym. As you know, on this building particularly, our struggle has been on the first floor because a lot of things currently grandfathered in on the second floor by code now have to come down to the first floor. So we had to make sure that we had enough classrooms and space for art, music, library, everything that has to take place on the first floor. So we maximized the first floor square footage, and then that left us with what we have available on the second floor. So currently, when you look at the green space, that's dedicated classroom space. That does include itinerant staff, support staff, things of that nature. And when you look at the second floor, it's much less than it used to be, which was intentional when you think about supervision, the size of the building, maintaining the building, overall efficiency. So right now, I feel pretty confident that we could probably fit 2 classrooms of a program such as TAG if central grade did expand a little bit. But going into the future, I'm not confident that the 4, if they were decided to come back right when it opened, that we would have room on the first and second floor. Now, we definitely have room on the third floor. Right now, the third floor dedicated space is in the pink area, and we're calling it office space. We had previously talked to the board about some conference spaces, pretty low cost to build out. We certainly could plan now or in the future to make those classrooms. It's a pretty easy thing to do with a minimal cost. Again, we're going to build it out already with electricity and those things for conference rooms. It's a matter of what do we need to make it a dedicated classroom, and we can make that conversation, we can make that decision in the future. It's not something that had to be made today. What I need to know fairly soon is, do we need to add a couple thousand square feet to the entire building to get more dedicated held for TAG classrooms on the second floor or first floor? Or are we okay with what we have now, which is at the $55 million budget, still a high estimate with some contingency, knowing that we still could make decisions in the future to allow TAG to remain here if the board does decide to do that in the future.
I have another question. Isn't this where there were 2 gyms?
Yes.
Weren't there 2 gyms? So it's looking in the drawings that we're absolutely down to 1.
Yes.
And I remember the discussion where they were saying that they use both of those gyms pretty much throughout the day. So that means they're gonna have to reconfigure something to do with the kids that otherwise would be occupied in that gym that no longer would exist.
It's all scheduling. So as it relates to all of our other elementary schools, they all have 1 gym. Eastern Elementary has more students in central grade and they make it work. It's scheduling. It's a special scheduling conversation. So knowing ahead of time that we have 1, we definitely can make it work. It's just all related to the schedule.
I just wanted to ask about this third floor rendering. So the light blue space at the bottom is the cafeteria. That would be like a staff cafeteria and lounge? The light blue space?
Right now they have it identified as,
Cafeteria.
Yeah.
But it's not above the main one.
Yeah. I actually think that's a misprint. I apologize that I didn't catch that. That one right now is questionable. They're not sure if they need it for a more mechanical space. So it should have been left for undetermined or mechanical space. At this point in time, we're not sure yet if they need it. They're doing all of the meetings with the mechanical, engineering, plumbing to make sure that they have enough space dedicated with the current square foot that we need.
Okay. And then the other question here was, what would that office space be? Is that like the central grade office, or are we thinking district administrative?
It could be offices. We were originally thinking conference rooms and professional development opportunities. We don't have really great spaces where we can get 100 teachers together for professional development that isn't an auditorium. And so the thought would be we could use these large rooms with partitions, and you can use it for one large room for 100, 150 staff members. You could break them up into smaller groups for professional development and meetings. We know going from this building with 3 conference rooms to Sabin, where we have 2 smaller ones, that we're going to need some conference room space and space just to be able to meet with teachers for professional development, for data meetings, for whatever else needs to take place.
I really kind of like the idea of being able to use the third floor and the second floor with classrooms for TAG at this point because it provides the most flexibility and probably is the most budget sensitive in this case. So I would, as long as we have ready access to the third floor, so that little ones can make it up there without either by the stairs or by the elevator.
Well, and
Little ones
There's
wouldn't
certain
do that, it would be
Yeah.
just older
Can't do
kids.
it.
Okay,
So
so even though.
they have to be second grade or higher to be above the ground floor.
I still call those little ones.
Okay.
I'm
So
old, everyone's a little
It'll,
one.
I mean, it will be outfitted with restrooms and again, I think 300,000 to 500,000 could change it from a conference room to a classroom, depending on what kind of cabinetry, if you put in a sink and those things. And again, that's something we certainly could make a decision later. I just want to get some kind of confirmation that the total footprint of the building that we're working on with the 55 million is enough.
Yeah.
And we certainly have flexibility in the future to add classrooms if we need to.
If we can do that, it makes far more sense than trying to do it on the first floor and incurring those extraordinary costs.
I would agree.
Well, we had talked about that, as maybe being for 4th and 5th grade, extra classrooms on the 3rd floor, although we hadn't really designated that just for TAG.
Yeah.
I think
And
it was
we're
for
not at this
expansion.
point either, but it's there, so the board knows it's there.
Yeah.
And a couple years down the road, depending on where all the conversations, everything goes, it's there and can easily be put into classroom space.
And I can't say for 100% sure that it couldn't be on the second floor. We don't know if the building's gonna grow more or if a special program's gonna be relocated at a later date. Those are decisions that can happen. We try to provide extra classrooms for growth and flexibility purposes. Right now, we have one preschool classroom. Could perhaps in the future we need 2. Those are things that we plan for and have flexibility. So depending on how everything shakes out in the next 3 years, there potentially could be room on the second floor. I just can't guarantee it with the current footprint, I believe.
And Christine, how much does this square footage on the third floor allow in terms of classrooms?
That's 20,000 square feet nearly, so I think 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could definitely put 4 TAG classrooms in there.
It still
if
has space.
necessary. And then, I mean, I know one thing in the central visioning task force that came up was, cause there were a couple of former TAG students who advocated, I think it'd be cool to be up on the 3rd floor. They were really excited about that idea, but the principal was concerned about the line of sight supervision.
I think in a general sense, they didn't, in a general sense, the ideal was if there's room on the first and second, we'd all rather be together. I don't think anybody wanted to feel isolated or just having support from the main office, knowing it's further away. I think the priority was to try to maintain on the first and second floor, but it wasn't really related as to if TAG's here or not. That wasn't really how the question was posed.
So I mean, really the key feedback is just the footprint itself, right?
Yes.
Yep, at this point.
And I don't think any of us, so you were advocating for remaining the existing footprint.
I was advocating for using those TAG spaces in the least intrusive to the budget, and that seems to be second and third floor mix or whatever the most flexible way we can deal with this.
Yeah, the way on this, so basically existing footprint is what?
My existing draft, yes.
Lobbing off the west wing.
The current existing,
I'm just checking, I think I was supporting you, but I just.
Don't need a vote, but just wanna make
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
good thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was other things on, like we were talking about, could moving TAG go to full Title I? And I think there's lots of things that we go into this decision-making, so to say that we're on budget, I like the idea of decisions where we can be flexible, but like in April, we didn't think we were gonna have TAG at Central Grade.
And we still don't know, I mean, but again.
So we're really not really tying into anything other than this.
All we're, exactly, for right now, the architects need to know.
55 million in this.
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
For right now,
I'm
there's
fine with
more to
that.
this conversation, but right now, that's what has to happen tonight.
Yeah, it would be a big change and an ask for more money if I needed to expand the first floor to hold up more classrooms on the second.
This is what we talked about in April too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
Before the architects go.
We've already done that, I mean, that's what I mean, we've already decided this in April.
Yeah, are they asking though how we want to design this
No.
third
No.
floor space?
No.
So.
No.
That could be revisited,
Yes.
1, 2, or.
Yeah.
100%.
They're not taken out.
Right now, the plan is conference rooms. If that needs to change, that's something that's a little bit easier to change even during construction with the change order. Not ideal, but could be done.
So I think
It's not gonna change our timeline now.
we've got consensus here. I think we know where we're at. I think Christine has what she wants. So that's the first part of this discussion, okay? Now the second part of this discussion. So obviously, when we move out of central grade and we move into this building, we've said right from the beginning that this building wouldn't fit everything that was in central grade. Our special programs, we were going to have to find places for those to go, essentially tag in the MyKai program.
And preschool.
And preschool, yes. And so we've made, some of that moved to preschool, moved to the Montessori, some space there. MyKai at this point, I've had Dan talk to Tracy a little bit with that. And I didn't know this, but just found out this afternoon, MyKai at one point was at Montessori with that. So it's a program that has fit and had different conversations about how that could work with our older kids that are in that building with maybe some opportunities for some mentorship, some kind of opportunities with that. And so that leaves TAG. I've had various conversations through the last few years with different board members and people. There's been multiple ideas about that. We've as a team have looked at every which way possible that might be to be able to configure it again. It's for the 3-year period right now while we're reconstructing central grade. It has to go somewhere. Talked to different board members. I had a couple that had some data points that they thought would be useful for the board to see. So I'm gonna ask Dan to kind of take us through those things. I've shared with you the thoughts that we've come up with of each side of town of Silver Lake having 2 and Eastern having 2. Christine's put together also in the data to have exactly what space we have at all of the buildings number-wise for you to be able to see that. And again, just looking for, we do have parents asking, especially parents that are gonna wanna maybe have their kids test. So that's coming to a point. Is it an absolute tonight? No, but the longer we do wait, the more parents are wondering, where is it going to be? Do I wanna have my kid test based on where do I have to drive home or drop them off at a bus stop? So if not tonight, soon to come up with that answer. And again, it's an administrative decision, but I really, again, always ask for your feedback and thoughts as you are the eyes and ears across the district. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it to Dan and Christine to give some follow-up info.
Can I ask one question before Dan launches?
You can.
into it? I'm trying to figure out how, for the life of me, we ended up with lots of correspondence over the last 3 or 4 days trying to figure out whether TCAPS still even endorses the TAG program and whether we support it. The question we're having now is simply to talk about where we locate it, is it not?
Correct.
Well, it's frustrating that somehow the rumor mill out there got started that we suddenly need to do something to sort of reinforce our support for TAG when I never even understood that was a question.
We've not gone about it at least that way. We've talked about, obviously, the hard part is that in any of our elementary buildings, we do not have 4 open classrooms. So we've always just had to talk about, we would have to split it some way. We've talked about, 2 4th grades in one, 2 5th grades. We've talked, there's been conversation from people, the board's gotten emails from other people about splitting it into an east and a west. So we've run with that concept with it. I know the question was asked about middle school. We looked at West Middle School. Issue with that is that we do not have any specials there at all. So art, music, PE is already those spaces used up every hour with all of our current junior high staff. It's also on a different bell schedule than our other elementary schools. And no playground. For recess, so we explored that idea. So I'm not sure how that manifested, but we've talked to principals and stuff with that, we've talked about absolutely keeping it. But again, I know there have been parent emails and stuff to all of you guys, so that's the approach we've consistently been taking and trying to think this out and having the conversation tonight.
So really, the crux of our questions right now are where we located, how we split, not whether we endorse it or not.
That is, from my perspective, yes.
Okay.
And what we've also gotten in some of those emails is encouragement to expand the program and to make sure that everyone knows the way that you get into the program. Which is the
That kind of
whole
clarification I
testing
can
thing, I
understand.
think.
I'm just frustrated with the rumor mill out there, sort of questioning whether we support it or
I'm
don't.
glad you said that, cause I was away for a few weeks and I got back and I wondered what you guys were up to, so.
I wondered what we were up to too, and I was here.
Yeah, I think just before curriculum even discussed it a few weeks ago, we started getting emails from the public who somehow knew about this impending discussion. And I think there was some concern that the program was gonna be watered down, that it could slowly die if it was divided across town. Some people were just objecting to why do we even have TAG? Why don't we just have something like this in every single elementary building? So I think, you know.
I hadn't seen any of that communication, so that's why I'm mystified.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen has been encouragement to have it more broadly available,
Right.
not to water it down or do anything along that line.
So, lots of information presented at board curriculum. So these slides that were put together by CNI team, Kelly Walter, Erica Swartz, and Pupil Accounting all did a great job helping me gather some data. Was just in response to some board questions we had after board curriculum. So first off, just to give everybody a sense of our district, 350 square miles of busing and how immense that we are. Some board members had wanted this information included in this meeting just to show as far east as we go to Cortade, almost all the way to 131. And then our west edge is Benzie County at Westwoods that goes all the way south, Carlin, Buckley area. And of course, we go all the way north with our eastern district on the Old Mission Peninsula. So the idea of splitting, we can see it also shows, and if you're ever on this map is interactive on our website. What we click on Central Grade and Blair, and we see that Central Grade and Blair are those two schools that we have that are located in the middle of our district that share both east and west students. So when I was part of the middle school, especially as far as enrollment goes, we go through quite a lengthy process for us to understand what students are coming our way. We are divided by a road, right? Division to 37 divides our district. We are not divided by population. So some of these old lines don't necessarily match up to our need right now as far as how the population splits. We are heavy west side throughout K-12, and that includes our TAG program. Our TAG program is definitely more heavy west side than it is east side. I don't think it's that much that it's unmanageable, but that's something that we continue to consider about how to place schools in different locations and where to place TAG. And just looking at this again, if you want to click, like for instance, Silver Lake and where that is, and again, when we talk about equity, that was a conversation we had when we talked about splitting a TAG program up to make it more accessible to all students, that we're able to touch more of these different zones or different boundaries if we have an east and a west side. So if the opportunity did come to even get to nearest stop, right? Nearest stop is another option in our district, which is true for open enrolled students. When we go through some of our numbers here, school of choice open enrolled outside of our district, if they can get to their nearest stop, they then have access to the program. So any other questions about boundary or how we're split?
I just really appreciate Trustee Pack for requesting this map, because this was really key for me. I kept thinking, gosh, Eastern is, so far north on the east side, but then you look at how long the peninsula is, and really it's smack in the center. And then conversely, Silver Lake, when you look at how far south it goes on the west side, it also is squarely in the center. I mean, about as best you can do with our 11 elementary schools, so.
Yeah, especially, but what always shocks me is looking at this is that Cortade border. I mean, that Cortade goes out where we bring in some, when we have some people from Kalkaska that wanna come in, why now? Cause they can find nearest stop and it's somewhat close if we border, right? And our other districts around us, Benzie, Glen Lake, those are all the schools that border us that we work with on a regular basis. And just also with this map, we think about the school of choice. I think someone brought up in public comment the idea that this is a 5-county area of people that do look to attend TAG. We have those numbers about how many kids come in. And we might get a little bit of increase too. We continue to see schools around us moving out of formula. And out of formula schools, don't get the per pupil. So the open enrollment definitely we see drastically will decrease as a school becomes out of formula. So schools that recently, Sutton's Bay, they border us. Obviously Glen Lake has been out for a while. Rumors about a few other schools that border us that could go out of formula, and then in turn, those students that may at one time had the option as far as school of choice may not have that option anymore and come back.
Is South Pullman Kalkaska?
Yeah, so that's just that area.
Yeah, that's why I was.
It's right there, and we do see some students from that. I've seen South Boardman addresses.
What's good about Eastern is you have so many kids in TAG and tested for TAG from Eastern. But on the other side, over on the west side, the school that has the most tested and enrolled is Willow Hill. But Willow Hill is, it's my understanding, is almost bursting at the seams.
And landlocked.
Yeah.
Well, name me a school, maybe West Senior High, that's not to some degree landlocked.
Well, Long Lake has a huge piece of property, really, quite a few actually.
Blair might could be.
Blair is, so also Cortate has a huge property. There are some, but there's quite a few that have a lot of land too.
But then, yeah, there's quite a few that are really.
Yep.
In the center of a neighborhood.
Keep going, Dan.
I was gonna move off of this if there's any other questions on map, okay? So just moving forward, this, clicking, I apologize. We lost one slide in here somewhere. Anyway, there was another question about attrition that was on the original presentation. The idea that came, and what we've done is we take a lot of slides that we covered at board curriculum that was only a 1 year previous year, realizing that TAG last year, the numbers may have been a little wonky due to the fact that these kids are gonna transition through several schools because they're not staying at central grade school. So one question is, throughout can we look at some of this data through a 5-year period instead of a 1 year period? One of those was attrition, like do we continue to hold on to kids as they move the 4th to 5th grade? And we've traditionally seen, for the most part, we probably lose 1 to 3 students a year as they move from 4th to 5th grade. So the attrition, they do keep the students they have generally in the TAG program. And we see it slowly. I would say we do see it slowly. It's just math. That's kind of our measure for middle school, right? Our TAG kids skip 6th grade math in middle school. They move into 7th grade honors. They get their algebra credit in 6th and 7th grade. And then in 8th grade, they move to geometry. So kind of our attrition through middle school is actually our numbers in our geometry classes. And those numbers in our geometry classes don't always match up to the 40 to 50 that we see in the 5th grade classroom coming out. So there is some there as that math becomes more and more challenging and they continue to move through high school credits. We do see a little more drop off in middle school also. Another question we had is just how many kids are tested from each school and then how many actually attend TAG that are tested. Some of these numbers, again, central grade, we split 60-40 about. Same with Montessori. Again, Montessori we don't have a boundary for because they're a totally open enrolled school. And then Blair, again, we also decided to split 60-40 as far as where those kids generally end up. The tricky part with central grade is, there's a few variables here that are hard to measure in just purely in the fact of location. So when you move a location, does that automatically mean the vast majority of those kids that test from central grade are gonna continue to test and then actually have to drive to Silver Lake or to drive to Eastern or another school if you choose to attend TAG, right? That's a variable we don't know the priority that of the family has with attending TAG. Right, does the Westwoods kid that doesn't attend TAG now because of that's a hike, or the Cortate kid, or the Cherry Knoll kid, will they attend TAG moving forward now because they have the option of driving less, or they can get to a nearer stop? So those are the unique variables we have about how exactly this is gonna fall east-west and what kids are now, or families, more importantly, are gonna choose TAG with the locations not being 2 different spots. So then these just show both west and east side. And then from our board curriculum, some questions that came out of that, they wanted this expanded from 1 year over the last 5.
And Dan, at curriculum, we had a middle layer that was the number who qualified. Is that reflected here in the blue
It is
test?
not, so what we ended up when we had to go back that many years, what the thing that we started to trip on a little bit is the idea of qualified and then attended and then wait list. And then I just don't think the numbers were very accurate as far as how many kids, because all we could find in the previous 5 years is figure out how many actually attended. Now, did those kids, were they in the first wave where they qualified, or were they in the second wave where they were waitlisted? So that, I didn't think that data was accurate enough to include.
But it's helpful in what curriculum presented, right? Yeah, so.
That
was
1 year.
for
For last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's a general snapshot, right? As far as, regardless of where the location is, the testing and the qualified part are pretty much the same year after year.
63 qualified, I believe, last year.
On the initial wave.
Right.
So that's the initial that we said, and then there's a wait list. And then last year we went through the entire wait list, so. And there was still a contingent of no's, so. And then there's the idea I know of, since I've had this discussion with a few of you and some in the public too, the idea of who to test, how many kids to test. I think that's a discussion to kind of bring up about the idea that we've had the idea of universal testing. Is that appropriate? Does it get the word out? Does it provide more opportunity? I mean, that's a tough one in my eyes, right? As far as standardized testing we already have, are we gonna head and give a kid a test that we know they're not gonna be successful at? And how does that make them feel as a learner? Is that appropriate?
Is there a way for parents to opt out as opposed to opt in? Would that be a middle ground where we could compromise?
I mean, that's possible. My concern is that that's based on parent involvement. So if the kid doesn't have an advocate, then they're forced to take a test when it's still not appropriate.
Or there's also no point taking a test if the parent is unable or unwilling to drive them if they get it. And then you're left with an awkward position where if they qualify, then you put people in a lot.
Another piece of this is we have to pay for all those tests. So Dan, what are those
Yeah, it's
numbers?
$17.50 a test, so right now we had 165 licenses last year that cost us around $3,000. If we had every student do it, approximately 4,000 kids were over $65,000 to test everybody.
Oh, when you say $17.50, $1,750.
$17.50 a
Per
kid,
kid.
yeah.
Okay. And is it North Ed that actually administers them?
No, this is COGAT.
But the thing that I've heard has been the limiter for a lot of families that have kids that are tagged, whether they were tested and then didn't go. Or else, in one case, a student who was in tag and then dropped out to go back to her home school. It's the transportation and the social group that kids have already established.
Yeah, I would say social group is a large, I was a principal out at Westwoods for 6 years. We had a lot of kids test and qualify for tag that didn't go. And it's that climate, it's the climate in the school they enjoyed, the family connections. Obviously they go, they go home and play in their subs and they're playing with kids that are in their own school.
Right.
Obviously it's a haul out there too, to get to Central Grade from Westwoods.
But that's part of the reason I think Eastern is a very good choice, because you had 24 kids tested, 12 that qualified, but only 4 that attended going into Central Grade. So I'm thinking that if you have a high volume of kids that could go to TAG and it was in their home school, it would help a lot. But then there's the problem, is that the right word, with Willow Hill? Because Willow Hill looks very similar to Eastern.
Yeah.
The thing I'll say is, as we've gone through all this, there was no perfect answers.
I know.
Never is.
You don't wanna put a tent in the parking lot.
Yeah.
One, I guess, fundamental question with Easton is like, we've had space issues there, like,
Parking,
well, just in,
pickup.
even just having the sheer number of classrooms, so we have enough
So right now we have a library, and so I'll let Christine kind of go through, I'd like her to go through all the numbers, but we do have a dedicated classroom that's a library. That building was built with an open library concept that has not, been all that embraced. And so there's an empty room, and we think that needs to stay dedicated for that purpose. But we do have one empty classroom in the preschool area right now. And we'd be looking at, if we were to do that, at one shifting. And so, again, Christine can have some data and numbers that I'd like her to kind of.
Let me just go through I just had one more slide
Yes.
too. It's, so national merit as far as finalists go, just again, showing that attrition, and this goes all the way, obviously, K-12 to make a connection between those tag students and then ultimate outcome of national merit that were semifinalists and finalists. So these are dead accurate numbers, these are fairly accurate just because we don't actually track this, but through social media and through some past information that we did find in Power School, this is about as close as we could get for 5 years.
Dan, did you show the slide about the enrollment over the last 5 years? Were you able to find that? I know you all sent that out today.
That went off,
I just
For
disappeared.
this one.
oh, this one, yes, this is the attrition one for 4th to 5th grade, yeah.
Yep.
This is the one I explained to start.
Yeah. So we've had anywhere from like 94 to 109 students in the last 6 years.
Yeah, we test, so the initial yeses go out are, right in that 60 to 64, so it's 32. So we know this initial 64, there'll be some drop off, but our divider for, we do our K5 is 27.8, right? That's our divider as far as figuring out class lists and for K5. Overload is 30 in 5th grade, so we like that. So we can hold up to 29 in tag. Some of the also conversations that's come up, fiscally with tag, does it cost the district more or less money to run tag? Again, it depends on a couple things. One, what number do we hit year to year as far as having 29 students in front of our class? This year we're a little low because a lot of kids didn't want to, again, make that transition through several classes. The problem that it's really hard to figure out variable wise is the idea from year to year, those kids coming out of sections in every elementary, it changes a little bit. So with those kids coming out of sections, does it get rid of a split? Does it create an overload? Does it get rid of an overload? Does it create another section? Does it decrease section? So that's super flexible year to year to be able to narrow down each year. Those 60 kids that come out, all right, or those 30 kids that come out, 60, those 60 kids that come out, how do they actually impact the other 10 elementary schools?
So I just have one quick question. So you mentioned 29 would be a full program, so 116 would be like a full program?
If we had all the way across the board, yeah.
We would describe tag as being full if we had 116. So we've never had 116 like in the past 5 years?
No.
Okay. I guess that's my thing. Like I want to make sure we have space. I want to make sure the schools are supportive of bringing new classrooms into their building as culture. But ultimately, I'd like to see tag be full, right? So, and I will defer to you guys to help us determine what do we have to do to make tag full. So
I don't know if it's necessarily saying full though, it's the maximum, and if you have
well, I mean, we have
17, it's
overloaded 4th and 5th graders across the district. So if I would like to get the most, when we talk about district resources, if 116 is full, I mean, that's what I'm curious about. Maybe Eastern does that, maybe,
Yeah, we don't know,
Silver Lake does
like
that.
this shift.
But I will lean on you to make that recommendation. And
Well, I think there's another component where we accept that, I've been in this as far as scheduling for middle school forever when we talk about honors, right? And where we limit honors classes based on numbers of classes. Are we actually talking about academically what's best for a kid? Or are we talking about fiscally what's most important? We have to balance that, right? That's what we always have to do. So making it full means we just continue to go down the wait list. So at what point, and we've talked about even the terminology talented and gifted, are we letting kids in? And then we gotta figure out, if we're gonna go far down the wait list and we got a kid coming in the tag that's 70th percentile on his math, and now we're gonna put him in and he's gonna skip a grade in math, are we just setting him up to fail because we wanna fill a program? So there is some wiggle room there as far as how we actually fill or who's actually good to be successful.
And right now we have classrooms, I think of 23, right, in 4th grade this year.
It's low, yeah, I agree.
So, when we talk about, because I'm curious about the cost and the enrollment, and Ultimately, that's what's gonna drive my decision about where this goes over the next 3 years, is where do we think where it's gonna be full and not at having classrooms of 23.
Well, we kind of have a pattern of it's been a central grade of the number. If you did it east and west, does that make a difference? I don't know.
We'll find out.
We're gonna have to do something right now, we don't have a
And I
choice.
trust you to make that recommendation, I just wanna
yeah.
I've heard that Eastern doesn't have space, I'll just say it, right? That's what we've heard, and I guess so I'm gonna defer to Christine now to talk about the numbers.
Before we get there, I just wanna ask, remind us, at 4th and 5th grade, what point do you have to get an aide?
30.
30 kids, okay. Yeah, I mean, we got an interesting email from one current tag parent right now, and you know more than I do, but they did remark about how there is some correlation with the neurodiverse population here in tag, and how they do need extra support with social workers, and just because they're tag doesn't mean they don't have their own behavioral problems. In fact, I have definitely heard over the years that just like every other classroom, post-COVID, there are some behavioral challenges. So maxing it out at 29 isn't necessarily a goal. We want to have the kids who qualify.
But I also did it, like, to Ty's point, I wasn't disagreeing, I'd love to have it, but I also don't wanna go into a 30 situation, cause then all of a sudden you're.
Right. Yeah.
And just to keep in mind, thanks to the board, Dr. Van Wagner, we've worked with, our North Ed folks also, that every elementary school has full-time social work. So as far as students moving on, there are schools that have more social work than others, but Eastern has a full-time social worker. Silver Lake has a full-time, Silver Lake actually is a social worker and a half at 1.5.
And that's all things when we get to mission-based budgeting, that's all in that conversation. What is our budget? Again, we just got this year's budget, I have no idea what next year's budget's gonna be. We do get additional support from the ISD that maybe could be considered, but again, where? That's all a part of that process, that's a whole year away before we can even begin to speculate on what that would look like.
And I think one of the biggest challenges we're gonna have is obviously if you split it to east-west, I think you're gonna draw a larger number.
Don't know that for sure.
I'm pretty confident just from having to go through those decisions of the sheer, how long is it gonna take me to get there every day and can I do it before work? It's probably gonna lead to going up, but at the same time the program was extremely stable, now it's got new teachers, which isn't a bad thing, but it's an unknown for parents.
Absolutely.
And at the same time we're doing a 3-year program that could then have to move.
Correct.
So you've got people who may not register because they don't know where it is.
I think you're making my argument for me now.
Yeah, my point is it's gonna be a bumpy couple of years.
It's gonna be a
whatever we
learning, it's
do.
gonna be a learning process with it, no doubt.
For sure.
And to that point, though, that's why it is of paramount importance that we make sure we recruit and retain these highly qualified and competent tag teachers, because we will have had 100% turnover with the retirements these last 3 years. And so we wouldn't wanna say, oh, it was because of geography, or it was because of this factor, when we really don't. There are a lot of unknowns going forward, and this is gonna be a big gamble. But I agree with others that this is creating a huge opportunity geographically for more families to participate. And having that map again was really helpful, just to see that so well.
And we're doing this not out of choice, but out of necessity. I mean, this is a decision that's forced, and we're gonna have to do it for 3 years, whether we like it or not, and we have limited options to be able to implement it. So it has nothing to do with our support or joy in having a tag program that's as rich as this one is. It's just simply a matter of how do we weather the next 3 years.
And we'll learn, and the board will make a decision on, it's not a final, like I said, based on if it goes, in the end, we go, they just didn't do some of those things, send it back to central grade. We've already talked tonight about that option's available. But in the short term, we do have to figure out, and I've given you what our collective thoughts have been as we've looked at the whole situation. So I'll give it to
Ready
Christine.
for classroom availability?
We're always ready for numbers.
Big disclaimer, so not knowing exactly how many students are gonna attend next year. When we look at all of our elementary buildings, so currently Blair has 3 vacant classrooms. It would actually be 2 if we move our second class of GSRP back to Blair from Silver Lake. So for a short period of time, we had more request at Silver Lake for the program, so we moved the second classroom of Blair to Silver Lake, and we had intended on putting it back. So, technically 2 vacant classrooms at Blair available, 2 classrooms available at Cherry Knoll. One of those could be a good option for preschool, should we need it. Cortade has 3 to 4 empty classrooms. Eastern currently has 2 empty classrooms. One of those is dedicated currently in use for library. The other one was a preschool room that we closed due to lack of enrollment. We currently have 2 classrooms of preschool. The second one is not full. So I'm not sure yet that we'll need the second classroom going forward. We do have options to relocate that if we'd like to move tag to this building. So I've had a conversation with the IC about the potential of having a classroom at Oak Park, but we do have room at Cherry Knoll and Traverse Heights as well if we'd like to relocate that preschool classroom. For Montessori, they have 2 vacant classrooms, one of which I kind of put a question mark about the potential of moving the MyKai program, so that would leave them with 1 empty classroom. Silver Lake has 2 if we move GSRP back, which had been part of our plan. Traverse Heights has 1 empty classroom after the addition and moving some staff around. Willow Hill has 0, and Westwoods has 3 to 4.
So you'll see the hardest issue we ran into with the places we would have space is on the far edges of our district.
Which makes sense.
Well, only in the fact that I think that, you know, we have people that maybe work in town and they, when they do in-district, you know, enrollment into a building, they wanna drop their kid off at school in town. Hence where we've been out of our schools, why we've had to limit the number of school, you know, in-district and school of choice from at you know, our 3 city schools, anticipation of this. We've done that. And we'll continue to do that.
Can I have one more disclaimer, especially because I know we have teachers? These classrooms are not currently empty, they use them, right? If they're empty, they use them, so we have other things that we can do to provide smaller spaces. Like currently, a classroom might be used for a social worker, where we could come in and put a partition and make 2 classrooms, one for a social worker, one for interventionist. So those are some things we can do, but we do have truly some vacant classrooms.
Yeah, so bottom line, after all this analysis, your recommendation is Silver Lake and Eastern. And I would just say, you know, building on what you mentioned earlier, and a lot of, I think, parents advocated for this in their emails, is if we do better promote the program, you know, we might get 2-fold increase, you know, in kids who test. And, you know, who knows? I mean, I know this is down the road.
And we'll have to limit based on the space we have for 3 years.
Yeah.
Or, you know, look at a different site if all of a sudden there's an odd, you know, spot where there could be. And as I told the board, you know, in my update, you know, and absolutely nothing's final, right? You know, we get in a year in this and something's just off the wall we didn't expect. We can look at what are our options again, what are enrollment in buildings, like those are there. Do we wanna move parents a lot? No. But if there's something that we collectively feel like, hey, you know what, this actually now makes sense, the board has that flexibility. Just like we've created the flexibility to be able to move the program in the end back, or if we find some things we really like that we think is better, we keep it that way. You know, but we're forced hand initially to do something because of the reconstruction. But from there, we're gonna learn a lot, and it very well may end up right back there, it very well it may not. Like, but this is kind of everything we've debated and talked about over this time, you know, to have and recognize, you know, there's definitely, you know, some movement and some things and you know, if all of that isn't the perfect thing, and it is, we'll keep the board informed, and I'm sure you'll even hear it at that point. But we've looked at every way, and if the board collectively feels there's something we've missed, happy to explore that. Believe me, we've taken months and just debated, well, what about here? Well, what about there? What about this? What about that? You know, and with all the numbers of enrollment. And, you know, the one thing we know right now is probably the thing that'll happen next year is we do have, if you look at the breakdown of the current 4th graders between East and West, you'll only end up, I think, with 18 in the next year's 5th grade on the east side, unless there's a way for kids to opt in that weren't, but I don't think so. you know, when I met with the teachers that are at right now, the current breakdown is larger on the west side than the east side. Now, could some parents maybe that are on the border decide to jump over? That's a possibility too. But, you know, the teachers just mentioned there's definitely a higher number of the tag kids right now in fourth grade that are west side versus east side.
Have we asked those, so there's 23, 24 there in fourth grade, 18 on the east side. Have we asked any of them how they would feel if they would continue with tag, say if it's at Eastern?
No, because we just didn't want to go there until we had this conversation.
I mean, that would be helpful for me. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, I'm
My gut feeling is not many, but Dan, I don't know what you might think, you know, just because of geography.
What is the enrollment of Eastern after count day?
We can pull that up.
Right now, if we're talking, are we talking like the whole building,
Yeah.
everybody in the building?
Is it over 500?
Yeah. Right around, a little over 500.
Yeah.
Because you gotta throw the preschools in there. So when we're thinking about this, you add the two sections in, depending what the preschool number looks like, right? So you're gonna be going between, with tag, I have a number of 530 in my head. If we land right around there.
So that's plus 2, hopefully fuller tags minus the preschool to 530.
Oh, right now, 485?
Yeah.
So she said right now, 485 is the number.
Is that K-5?
No, that's JK through 5.
JK through 5.
Plus preschool.
Yeah,
throw
it was
preschool.
480 on the
Almost right.
annual report last year. That's what it was.
We had
This was
quite
the
a reduction in preschool, because it used to be 540.
So what was your original, just Ty, going back with the idea of who to ask as far as who
Well,
goes?
those 23 families who are currently fourth grade in tag, like, I mean, and I guess, I mean, I'd like to make a decision tonight as well, but we don't test, I believe, till next February, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean,
as I said, it wasn't absolute today.
Okay.
You know,
I mean,
a lot of the
I would
conversation.
personally like to hear from those fourth graders, those 23 fourth graders, would they plan to attend Eastern if there was that option?
Okay.
And I'd like to hear from Eastern, I guess, staff, like that we're taking, maybe we're not taking away their library, I don't really know the library, but.
We would not be.
Okay, we're not taking away the library, but now we're gonna add 30 more kids to the building.
Just so I understood, the conversation with the 23 fourth graders, we wanna know where they're, because if they're not gonna go to Eastern, where are they going then? And then does that dictate where we put the tag program? Let's say, no, they're all gonna go to Cherry Knoll. So that's what my next question is at some point, I think it's one of those chicken egg situations, right? If we're gonna ask them where they're gonna go, right, let's say none of them go to Eastern, do we still run the program?
We wanna keep them, right? We wanna keep these 23 that are just gonna graduate fourth.
They can't come here, they're not gonna be part of Glen Loomis.
No, and I know that, but we wanna keep those 23 fourth graders in tag, correct?
I understand, but my thing is that if we ask them the question and they then dictate where, then they all tell us where they wanna
Ask them
go.
where they wanna go, we would say, would you go to Eastern?
Well, I
And if they all say no.
Well, that would be helpful for me.
For what? And then
To make a
what?
decision. Well, and
Decision
then
on
what? I mean, and then what? I don't know. But I mean, we have 4 classrooms empty in Westwoods, right?
Right, but they're not gonna travel all over West.
But I mean, there's a lot of kids, I'm just saying, I just, if a big percentage of the current fourth graders have no intention to come back to Eastern, I don't know, like, that doesn't feel very good to me.
I mean, we can ask that question. My gut feeling is most will to stay in it, you know, but like if not, it just would mean probably not running the program anymore.
or at this time.
We're not asking them where they wanna go, we're saying, this is it,
These are
this is the option.
Well, it seems to me that if you have 2 options and you're feeling pretty secure about them, you can ask which school, because it could be that they work close to one.
Could be. And it would balance maybe a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair, but.
Maybe a general survey question for all of them. If, with tag next year, if we give them the option of Eastern and Silver Lake, which school would you plan to choose?
What's your first choice?
I would ask it that way because the start time at Silver Lake is closer to Central Grade, so if it's a scheduling thing, some people could opt to use Silver Lake instead of Eastern, as we might think.
Let's not ask it as an option of where do you wanna go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the two options.
And I only mentioned
What's your
Eastern because
first
18 of
choice?
the 23 are east side, that's the only reason, but I would support that too. Would you, which one?
Yeah, and we're just trying to.
I just, to be clear, I mean, like, looking at all of it, like, I don't fathom that they would go to the edges of the district.
No, but some families in those districts might, right? Like,
But they would already be in, there's not many. I mean, if you look at the numbers, there's not enough to make a section of.
I guess, I mean, maybe that's.
Mostly in town.
Maybe that's solution C or D, but I don't think anybody's talking about eliminating or ending tag, to Scott's point, right? I think we're just looking at what is the best solution to keep this program going while Central Grade is being renovated.
Yeah.
So.
It's harder for me to envision East Side families dropping tag because it moved from Central to Eastern than it is anybody on the west side. Because Central and Grade and Eastern Elementary are so close to each other. And actually, I think we might even pick up some Willow Hill kids who are zoned for the west side, but they could school of choice to.
But that's to Ty's point as well, is you might get some of the Willow Hill folks to go over there versus, and it might even amount, but it's worth the question.
I just wouldn't discount the start time, because I think that going from an 8:15 start time to a 9 o'clock could sway some families.
That's
Well, then let's put the start time in there as one of the qualifiers for the two different options.
We can do that. We can do
Be
that.
descriptive.
I think coming out of this, I think we all want the tag program to continue.
Absolutely.
We know that Central Grade is obviously not gonna be available. We can't put them here, so the only choice other than to put them at Westwards, which I think we all agree is generally a bad idea, is to split it into two, which may as well be an east versus west for access. And then the choices, and I think that out of everything, I guess that you could argue a couple of schools, but generally speaking, we're very limited on the.
You can see where we've landed. We've given you all the data that we've looked at with it and how we've landed where we've landed.
And to that point, like, and I'm not saying that you haven't looked at this, but like, even with that summary, the only two is potentially Willow Hill and Silver Lake and Eastern and Cherry Knoll, and and you've gone through the process and identified the number one of the two, and that's where we are.
Yeah, and what would be interesting is if the program actually grows.
Well, we
you
can
split it
control
into
that.
two.
For now, we can control that. We can do whatever, but without room, like from that element, unless we were looking at a third school, we would just go down the list as far as many spots as we have.
Sure.
But maybe later it is the three schools.
Again, if we have that issue, we know it's giving more possibility of access for location in the future. Again, another learning data point that we'll bring to the board as we get deeper into the finality of where it ends up in the end.
And I think to help us, we've really just gotta expect every single elementary school building to promote this. I know some of them are less inclined to do so than others, but making sure it gets out in that weekly newsletter that parents receive from their building, and that the third grade teachers are uniformly offering it to the third grade families. I think that's so important. I look at these numbers on Blair and Traverse Heights and, other schools, and the number of kids who are testing are so low. I just think we could unlock some more potential if we had more consistent.
I think we do a pretty good job of the TCAPS
Notifying.
district letter, the school newsletters, and the teachers. I would say, in my experience, I've not seen schools, it's coming from the district for the schools, maybe in classrooms potentially. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge to the whole thing is the third year, like, people signing up. So you want me to sign my child up to go to one school that may then have to change school again, and then go to another school, middle school, so 3 schools in 3 years, basically, that
is the hard part. I mean, if the board, but I just don't think the board's there.
No.
But,
In 2 years, we better be.
well, that's just it. The more that you can give, especially those families that are testing, that thought, the better off it is.
You have a couple of years of data point, well, at least 1 year of data point.
Absolutely, and you'll get that. We'll be sure to, include that in all of our data sets of what we have and all that for the board.
And going back to the transportation issue, so I really appreciate that y'all are trying to problem solve on this. Are you planning to advertise to the third grade families this year that we're looking at bus routes or shuttles or?
No, the only thing we would have capacity is if they could drop off at a bus stop within that building zone.
Okay,
We do not have the capacity of drivers. We barely are able to pull off what we're doing.
that's fine.
So,
I just wanted
but
to-
it now has 2 zones they could drop off versus 1. So right now, they have to get in the central grade busing zone. Now they could get in under this possibility in Eastern or Silver Lake, which touches a lot from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, given the size of our district, nearly 300 square miles, 2 options is better than 1 option, no doubt. No doubt. So, I mean, and I would like to see this survey before, I mean, I don't know if we're voting or what we plan to do here.
And it's just, again, it's something the administrative does, I've asked input, but we'll get that and we'll bring it next month. Again, it's just, I know parents are chewing at the bit here, so, we'll bring that back next month. And again, again, you guys hear eyes and ears, and I want everybody to give input and thoughts before we do this so that, but it doesn't take a board action, it really falls under administrative purview.
Great. Well, thanks for all the thought you put into this. I know it's got many tentacles, as you like to say.
The greatest thing is in 3 years when we do the ribbon cutting on central grade. And then we can talk.
I know, it would be nice, that third floor is looking mighty attractive.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, okay, so any other comments on this subject? Actually, there's no motions, I think, on discussion this week, but the next item is school safety update, going to Dr. Rowland.
Yeah, so. Okay, effective October 1st, Michigan law requires that all schools provide parents and caregivers with the information on safe storage of firearms at home. This proactive measure is part of the state's larger secure storage law designed to prevent accidental firearm injuries to children. TCAPS is complying with this mandate by distributing Michigan Department of Health and Human Services resources on our website. These resources detail the state's requirements. Unattended firearms must be unloaded and secured with a locking device or stored in a locked container. If a minor is or is likely to be present, they must have that locking device or locked up. As a reminder, free gun locks are available to anyone who wants them at all of our secondary schools and here at the administrative building in the superintendent's office. With that, we also plan on having in our newsletter, the information as we get closer to deer season with that message as well. But this is something new that we do have to have a little bit earlier, so we're having that. And as you might remember, the board did a resolution, and in that resolution, we said we would also do that once a year. So this kind of fits now with the law. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then as we get closer as well to the opening of firearm deer season, we'll also make sure to promote that as well.
Excellent.
Any questions on that? Next discussion item is a donation of $20,000 from the Mahogany Foundation for Student Support Network.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask a quick question, Christine, I don't remember, does the board have to act on acceptance of this or just be informed of?
They have to act on it. This was part of the change in our policy for donations of $20,000 or more would come to the board for action.
Okay, so I apologize, we didn't have a motion there. I told Tammy at first I didn't think, but I messed up, I just realized it.
It gets confusing because donations and grants are different.
Yeah. But the Mahogany Foundation, which this was presented to our curriculum committee and our finance committee rather, to move forward. This is a great donation that gives to our student support network. Again, you've all had the chance to see so much of that work that goes into the student support network and the finances. This is at least the second year that we've had this grant from the foundation, and it's a family that very much always this foundation supports TCAPS and so many of the endeavors that we have. So we're very thankful for that, and we're asking the board to accept this donation.
Yeah, I can just share just a little bit of detail. So the foundation is actually led by Meredith and Dan Falconer. They began in 2003, and they did provide us with a large donation last year. And we had Katie come to Finance and Operations just to give a summary of how those funds were used. So this year's contribution comes at a great time as we're preparing to host our winter warm-up shop. This is gonna be providing clothes, boots, winter gear for families. They can come in and shop for free. Again, much like our pop-up shop that we had in the summertime, they can come now and get ready for winter. The funds will be used to purchase much needed winter clothing, gear, especially boots, and waterproof gloves, which are currently in very short supply. We also are accepting donations of those items if anybody would like to donate items for winter clothing.
Drop them off here at the central office.
Yes.
Now,
Do not use.
well, before you do that, I'm fine to make a motion, but the policy does say $20,000 or less, you have the authority. It's over $20,000 that you don't. So it is dead on the amount.
I would say for this time, just in thankful to the Falconers, I'd like
I'm
the
also-
board to give an official support so we can have that in the minutes, I think would be a good gesture.
I also, it doesn't hurt, and also want to express our thanks, so I don't think it necessarily needs to be debated, but yeah.
I move to accept, that the Board of Education accept a donation of $20,000 from the Hague Foundation in support of our student support network.
A second.
Oh, boy, that was almost, I don't know.
I feel.
That's a rock, paper, scissors right there.
The Jairus can have it. Let the minutes reflect.
That was a tight one. Alright, so second by trustee Jairus. Okay, Tammy, please conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Trustee Bajeris?
Yes.
Trustee Ballinger?
Yes.
Trustee Hardy?
Aye.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Newman?
Yes, motion carries, and a great thank you for the support of the foundation to Student Support Network, and obviously, as we all, I like to plug any time, is a critical area that we need funding and appreciate it greatly, so. Moving on to that, we have the second public comment, which I did see there was a few, so just to remind everyone is that the board has set aside this time for public comment. If you've already spoken earlier, you are not eligible to speak again, you will be limited to 3 minutes. Should not make personal attacks unrelated to actions affecting the school system. Strongly encouraging common courtesy and constructive feedback with detailed rules and procedures, including a complaint process in board policy 2504.
Lindsay, I believe it's Annalyn.
I'm here on behalf of the TAG discussion and location. I'm Lindsay Annalyn. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Eastern Elementary. I've had the pleasure of being and working alongside TAG teachers for 6 years at Central Grade when I taught in the general ed curriculum. I, along with other staff and families, have concerns regarding moving the students into the program at Eastern due to mainly logistics. We have 526 students with preschool. We at Eastern are at capacity, and specialist teachers are already teaching classes back to back to back. Assemblies in the cafeteria are at mass capacity, as is our playground with limited staff members. The designated library is where we have guest speakers come and present, as well as a quiet space for those library lessons. The common space unfortunately does not offer a quiet library space as it was intended. Moving TAG classrooms into the preschool hallway will also change our sought after and quite impressive preschool program by downsizing or displacing the preschool. This is of major concern as many in the community, including staff members, plan to have their children attend our preschool and move on up through the grades. Before moving forward with a decision, I just urge the district, the board to thoughtfully evaluate alternative locations, as I know it's a tough decision as you are talking about tonight, as well as how this will impact our Eastern school community and our resources. Thank you so much for your time, for your consideration, and we really appreciate your support.
Rob Nendorf.
everyone, good evening. My name is Rob Nendorf. I am a parent of 2 Eastern Elementary School kids, a 5th grader and a 3rd grader. We sort of just found out about the potential of TAG moving to Eastern. I respect the challenges that you all are facing, figuring out how to shepherd the program through the next few years. But I'd like to echo a lot of what Lindsay just shared. I think it will harm students at Eastern is kind of the bottom line. And it comes down to logistics. That building is very full. And when it comes to specials, the cafeteria, the preschool program, those are all important assets of the school, and I think this will harm those. There's a lot of talk about how to preserve the TAG program, and I applaud that. It's ultimately a voluntary program. I support it, but people get to choose whether or not they do it. And if they don't, the fallback is very good 4th and 5th grade classrooms that you all support and make excellent places to be and to learn. So if as a TAG person, I have to drive a little bit farther and it's an inconvenience for a few years and it temporarily harms the program, I think that's less harm than kids who don't have a choice because this is their elementary school. So the preschoolers in that neighborhood, the elementary school kids in that neighborhood, they didn't sign up for that. That's where they live, that's their school. So I think as you're balancing out kind of the winners and losers of these decisions, which there always has to be, and I sympathize with the challenge, I would just keep that in mind that like my kids don't really sign up for Eastern Elementary, that's just where they live. So I know you're all working through it and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Liz Ledke.
Hi, my name is Liz Ledke. My husband, Chris, and I have had 2 students complete the TAG program, and our 3rd and final student began in 4th grade TAG this year. We've had an overwhelmingly positive experience with TAG. It's given our kids an opportunity to be challenged, and they've been really engaged in their education in a way that they hadn't been challenged to do so either prior. The TAG program has been structured with 2 teachers for each grade. They're able to take a deeper dive on the subjects. The 2 classrooms are very collaborative and work well together. These students are coming from a number of different schools and they're joining together. What's really wonderful is that because there are 2 sections of the class, or of each grade, they're able to make more friends. There's a lot of focus on social emotional development and making new connections so that the students do remain in the TAG program and don't return back to their home schools. So I think it's really wonderful if we can have an opportunity that keeps those 2 grades together. Because to separate them, they've already come from one elementary school in 3rd grade, they're entering 4th grade at Central, they'll go somewhere else for 5th grade, and then they're gonna go on to middle school as well. So that really, it's actually 4 and 4 for the kids that are entering right now. So if we can keep them together with this new cohort that they're with, I think that would really be wonderful. I know that it adds to the challenge of drive time for some people between East Side and West Side, but it really is beneficial to the students. I know you even talked about, the kids going on and who stays with the TAG program or has more advanced classes. I think there's even situations where some of the kids need more than just geography in 8th grade too. So it's a really good benefit. These students stay together, they have group chats, they study together, so what they're doing already in TAG, that continues to be who they're taking their AP classes with in high school. And so to keep them together as much as we can, they spend a lot of time building community, so it would be really great to keep them together. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the comments. Obviously a difficult issue that we'll continue to work through. And with that, that is the end of the agenda, so I just wanted to thank again, everyone's comments, and I know that this is a particularly difficult and no good solution problem. But the next Board of Education meeting is Monday, November 10th, 6 p.m. in this room, also televised online. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
All right. Second?
Nobody seconds that we're staying here.
I heard you say second.
I heard that in a second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Meeting adjourned.